media.
The bacon at Maze. Will had been driving for hours, the hypnotic pulse of the white-striped center lane pulling him deeper into a trance as the road stretched endlessly before him. Northern New Mexico was a vast, empty place at 3 a.m., where the black sky swallowed the land whole, and the only sound was the low hum of his rig pushing forward through the void. He liked the solitude, preferred it even. But tonight, there was something else in the air, something he couldn't quite name. A weight, an unseen presence pressing in on him. His stomach growled, reminding him that he hadn't eaten in hours. He reached for his ham radio, his voice breaking the silence as he asked if there was a good place for breakfast near Clovis. The response came almost instantly, a whispery, smoky voice crackling through his headset, sounding so close it might as well have been breathing against his neck. Try Mace Breakfast Diner. They're open all night. You should see it in 20 minutes on your right. But you'll need to park your rig on the shoulder after the exit. Will felt a shiver creep up his spine. He hadn't said where he was. He hadn't given any indication of his location. The voice sounded old, rasping, almost amused. Still, the promise of hot food overruled his unease, and sure enough, as promised, the neon glow of Maze appeared in the distance, flickering in and out through the dark. The moment he saw it, a strange feeling settled in his gut. Something wasn't quite right. He pulled off, parked on the shoulder as instructed, and made his way inside. The place had the warm, comforting atmosphere of an old truck stop diner, the kind that felt like a relic of the past, complete with faded red booths and the smell of fresh coffee in the air. Yet, the silence felt unnatural, like a stage set waiting for actors to arrive. A waitress greeted him with a tired but genuine smile, handed him a menu, but urged him to try the bacon sampler. "You'll love it," she said, almost too eagerly. "It's what we're known for." He ordered a ham steak, 3 eggs, hash browns, and the sampler, reasoning that if he couldn't finish it, he'd wrap some up for later. When the food arrived, it was everything he wanted and more, but the bacon. The bacon was otherworldly, thick-cut, perfectly crisp, rich, smoky, and yet something about it was different, indescribably good. He had never tasted anything like it before. Each bite filled him with an almost primal satisfaction, like scratching an itch he never knew he had. "What's in this?" he asked the waitress, his voice slightly breathless. She smiled knowingly. "How special? Been in the family for years. Recipe came from the owner's grandpa. We've been serving it here forever." As he drove the next day, he couldn't stop thinking about the bacon. The taste lingered on his tongue like an old memory, gnawing at him. It was an obsession now. He had to have more. 2 nights later, as he made his way back toward Clovis, the ham radio crackled to life. The same smoky, disembodied voice slithered into his ears. "How was the bacon?" Will's breath caught in his throat. He hadn't spoken, hadn't reached for the radio. Yet the voice knew. He gripped the wheel tighter, his pulse hammering against his skin. Minutes later, a state trooper's lights flared in his mirrors. He pulled over, heart still racing from the eerie transmission. The officer approached and leaned in, inspecting his rig. "License plate lights out," he said. "Just a warning this time, but get it fixed soon." Then, almost as an afterthought, the officer cocked his head. "Did you try the bacon?" Will felt a cold sweat break across his skin. "What's with the bacon?" he asked, his voice wavering. The officer chuckled, as if Will had just asked the most obvious question in the world. "That diner's famous all over the 4 corners. Can't get enough of that bacon myself." Over the next few days, Will tried to push it from his mind, but it was impossible. The craving had sunk its claws into him. He found himself dreaming of it, waking up in the middle of the night with the phantom taste of it, still lingering on his tongue. It was more than just a want, it was a need. The world started to feel muted, dull, when he wasn't thinking about it. Food tasted like ash, and so, 1 week later, he found himself back on that lonely stretch of highway, the neon glow of Maze cutting through the darkness. But something was different. There were no other cars in the lot, no sign of life, yet the open sign buzzed weakly against the window. He stepped inside. The air smelled the same, but the atmosphere was off. The waitress from before was nowhere to be seen. Instead, a wiry old man stood behind the counter, his skin ashen, his eyes sunken and lifeless. "Back for more?" the man rasped, his lips curling into something that wasn't quite a smile. Will hesitated, but the hunger gnawed at him. "Yeah," he admitted. "I need more of that bacon." The old man nodded, turning toward the kitchen. "Wait here." Will sat in the booth, his foot tapping anxiously. The place felt wrong now, like a trap, like he was being watched. Minutes passed. Then the sound of heavy boots echoed from the kitchen. A door creaked open, and two men stepped out, dressed in butcher's aprons, their hands glistening with something dark and wet. The old man placed a plate in front of him, fresh bacon piled high. "On the house," he said. Will stared at it, a strange dread pooling in his stomach. The meat glistened under the flickering fluorescent lights, the scent intoxicating, undeniable. But then he saw it. A fingernail. A small, jagged sliver of something human embedded in the crispy folds. His stomach lurched. The waitress's words came back to him. "Been in the family for years." The state trooper's knowing smile. "Can't get enough of that bacon." The disembodied voice on the radio. "How was the bacon?" His breath hitched. A war raged inside him. He should leave. He should run. He should be disgusted, horrified, appalled. But the hunger was unbearable. His fingers twitched as he reached for the plate. The old man and the butchers watched, waiting, their expressions unreadable. Will picked up a strip of bacon. It was still warm. He hesitated for only a second. Then he ate. The taste sent a shiver through his body. Ecstasy. Fulfillment. His entire being hummed with satisfaction. He didn't care anymore. Didn't care what it was, where it came from, what it meant. None of it mattered. Only the bacon. "Welcome home, Will." Will got back in his truck and started to leave town, but alas, he was pulled over by the same state trooper. "You didn't fix the license plate light like I asked. Now I have to take you in," the officer said as he reached for his handcuffs. "Arrested? For a light out?" Will knew better than to argue. The cop car started heading back, toward May's diner. The officer turned his head and spoke to Will, now cuffed in the back seat. "You are a part of it now." As the car stopped, the two butchers from before opened the door and pulled Will out. They never found him. His truck sat abandoned on the side of the highway for 4 weeks until the company tracked it by GPS. Now there's no trace of Will. But the neon sign at May's diner blinks. Open, open, open.